Happy Sunday to you, day before election to you. It is episode 131. Wish it was a nice and tidier number than that, but that means we've been live for 131 straight days. And friends, it is time for, I haven't broken out my moleskin yet, my notebook, in any of these lives, but today is different. Today is unique because it is time for the plan. And that's why I titled this video, The Plan. Mark's first 10 days as MLA-Elect. A lot of people say, and I see it online, promises, you're promising a bunch of stuff, another politician making promises. As far as I know, I haven't made any promises. The only promise that I can do, so in a way, here's the promise, it is to work on every single one of these things the way any of the best MLAs in our province have worked on the things. That's essentially all we can promise. I did say to Campobello yesterday, everybody whose doors I knocked on, we're going to get that ferry. This is just one of those cases where when the political will is this strong, when anybody from Campobello or not says it's absolutely absurd and makes no nonsensical that that island is not connected to the mainland, that's something that we'll be able to get done for sure. Easily? Probably not. I don't think any of the things we're talking about are easy. But today, because I do have to limit my time here, and I know you're saying, yeah, right, but there is in 1 hour a demonstration that I got to be at in St. Andrews. It's the Free Paul Watson event. I'm not going to get into what that is, but we believe that Paul Watson, the environmental warrior who has been detained, needs to be set free, and the Canadian government needs to be involved in that. So you can look into that. I'll be there at 3, the wharf at St. Andrews. So that's less than an hour away. Today, I want to talk about, the 5 things that I've been running on, plus Campobello Ferry, although matters of transportation, I typically do put into that public safety piece, which is, the pinky finger of the button. But I want to just briefly go through today what I think I can and cannot work on, but what I am going to be moving forward in the first 10 days. And what I mean by cannot work on is, as MLA-Elect, where the former government is moving out and the new government will be moving in, there is some upheaval and some flexible timelines, shall we say. I've been trying to get a handle on when do I take the job officially? When are we going to be called? When can legislation start moving? Because we want to see that happen right away. So that's a good segue into the first point, which of course was affordable housing. And what we want to see when it comes to affordable housing, as I've said, is a rent cap, 2.5%. Rent cannot go up any more than that. And so, of course, if Greens are elected or if there's a minority government situation, we are going to be pushing for that. That is something that needs to be legislated. We also want to see tax reform, as I've mentioned before. And so what that means, of course, is right now we have a 10% spike protection. We got to see reform around the taxation, but I brought to your attention the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, that plan that they want to see forward. So, in fact, the pointer finger of the 5 things are very legislation based. That said, I do want to talk to the Regional Service Commission and the mayors and get a sense of, as I've mentioned before, what we might be able to do and how we can help as a province, help municipalities with the setting of their own tax rates, or how, large business, in heavy industry can only be taxed 1.7 times more than residential. That is something that we need to see changed. And so that's the kind of questions I'm going to start asking on that file in the first 10 days where I can. But again, I believe a lot of that will be legislation based, but not everything is. And so that's where number 2 comes in. When it comes to housing for all, I do want to dive into the out of the cold situation right here at St. Stephen. Obviously, as someone who is not an MLA, there are limitations to that, but I did spend an hour and a half with Jim Stewart at Neighborhood Works on Thursday, and we were talking about the plans, long-term plans, complex care housing. We basically need a full upstream plan for housing in St. Stephen, particularly where you have 70 to 100 people living rough. Here comes the cold weather. We need to tackle that right away. Another thing I'm going to do is meet with the Passamaquoddy Lodge board. I have encountered some of those people door knocking. You take contact information, because what we need right away is to figure out what they have done and where they are at in terms of where the holdup is on the provincial level. Because right now, again, even they don't have answers. It's been unacceptable. That's been the way of business in the past government with our incumbent MLA. That is going to change. So I will reach out to stakeholders, the chair of the Passamaquoddy Lodge. I have read the report. I have their names, and that's one of the first phone calls I will be making. We need to see more detox center service in our riding. I know that seems like just absolutely crazy. Imagine that. Somebody in our riding who is ready and willing to tackle their addiction. They need to be able to go into addiction treatment right away. I would love to see some sort of facility right here in St. Stephen or in our riding for that. Again, the situation, as we feel as St. Stephen residents, we know it's most acute here. We got to stop trying to ship people to St. John for that. It is time for our rural riding, where this is a very acute challenge and a problem that we see literally on the street. We need to get those people help. So I will be reaching out to the Mental Health and Addictions Office, talking to the director there, and asking what it would take, what it will take to get those services right here in our riding. Let's see, again, I have my notebook here. I don't want to miss anything. I will visit Ridgewood, which is the rehab center in St. John. I want to figure out how we can work better together, because again, talking to Neighborhood Works, they have volunteers driving people up there who are threatening to harm themselves or what have you, and the system is not really taking care of it. And Ridgewood has many stipulations of who they will take and who they will not take. And of course, the wait list is absurdly long. And we need to see for our riding, for particularly the acute situation in St. Stephen, how we can move that forward. So I will be contacting Ridgewood as soon as I can, going to that facility, speaking to who I can, and seeing how we can partner together. Now, the third thing for the primary care, one of the first things I'm going to do is talk to Megan Mitten, who I'm sure will be reelected in Tantramar, so she would be a Green colleague of mine, about exactly, I've talked to you before about this, the plans, the blueprint of how, with the Sackville Hospital, they got that clinic up and running extremely quickly. Vitalite found that's the health authority up there, they found a place to rent. They found some doctors who are willing, some nurse practitioners who are willing to each take a day or two. That way they could take 600 medical orphans and start getting them seen and into the system and getting them the care they need. So I would do that. I'm going to talk to Steve. He's the chair. We've already been back and forth. He's the chair of the Charlotte County Hospital Foundation. They have plans. I have seen their plans. Incredible. These people are working. As I've said before, and I said it at the Meet the Candidates event, people are working in our community. They just need that provincial boost, that MLA presence to sit at the table and say, how can we bring everything that the province brings to bear? Because it is a provincial mandate. Healthcare is. I will be at that table, and I look forward to talking to Steve, the Charlotte County Hospital Foundation. And I do want to talk to the hospital manager of the Charlotte County Hospital and see how we can work together on that challenge as well. And, this is the way things work, where, you just start making the contacts, and it always leads to another contact and another contact. That's why I'm saying this is the first 10-day plan. I want you to understand that come Tuesday, I'm not going to just wait around to be called to the legislature or wait around for the government to form their cabinets and their committees. I'm going to start making local calls, because that is what the Green Party is all about. Now, I am looking at the time, and I got to get to St. Andrews, so we're on number 4 now. In terms of the affordable food, I want to start contacting all of the farms that are in our riding. Again, 400 farms have closed down in the last 5 years in New Brunswick. And so there are incredible farms. I get a weekly subscription basket from Bantry Bay, and I've talked about them. I know there's a farm that raises livestock, and so I want to talk to them. Little Acres. There are other farms in our riding that I want to find out exactly what help they need, because farmers only take home 7 cents of every dollar of revenue that they produce. That's unacceptable. So I want to find out, how can they grow? What do they need to grow? How can the province support them? How, as a riding, can we move in and help them? And some of this is just social entrepreneurialism and helping them understand what kind of funding is available, and how, if they want to grow, how can they grow? And then how can we find them buyers? And that's where things like the Charlotte County Hospital, putting more local decision making, that's one thing Greens want to do. So, for example, if you have Lyncourt Nursing Home, or if you have Charlotte County Hospital, I went to Lyncourt, did a tour. They said their food budget has had to double over the last few years because of the cost of groceries. Well, can they get more local produce from local farms? That will take something to set up, but maybe the cost comes down as a result of that partnership. Schools can be doing that. This, of course, we talk about legislating breakfast and lunch programs, yes, but also, what if we just created more local partnerships, more local buying solutions? That's a green value, and that is something that I'm not going to sit around again and wait for legislation to take 2 years to happen. What I am noticing is magic happens when you bring people together, make those connections, they meet each other. You can dream and you can plan together ways to make life better for everyone and for our common good. So that's an example of, talk to the farms, talk to people who are buying food now, and see if there's some sort of connection and expansion that can happen there. Again, first 10 days, these are calls I'm going to make. Last thing, in number 5, of course, is the public safety piece. I'm going to go back to Brad Henderson, one of the first mayors I talked to in St. Andrews. The courthouse is sitting there. We don't know how much revamping is going to have to happen, but we need to find a location for the courthouse, and we need to find the people. So I will also have to reach out to the current Minister of Justice. This is one thing, when governments change, of course, the MLAs cease to exist, but the ministry is still there because we still need some form of government. And I will want to reach out to ministers of justice, or the directors of justice who make decisions around, can judges be appointed 1-2 days a week? We need prosecutors, essentially, and we need judges, because those are provincial employees, essentially paid by the provincial government to try cases, to give people access to justice. And so that's the kind of thing we need to see if we're going to get a courthouse. So I want to reach out to Justice Department, follow that trail of breadcrumbs, but I got to start somewhere on day one in my first 10 days. The other thing is, I want to reach out to Charlotte County Dial-A-Ride. I did talk to Sharon about some of the things, the issues around transportation there. And how can we help Dial-A-Ride? I know that funding is being withheld from them right now, but from the province, this current government, because of certain stipulations they've made. But this is something we need to build out. Again, Mayor Ken Stanix is a municipal, but they have a bus in Macadam, which the municipality invested in. And I've already bragged about the mayor of Macadam and how incredible things are up there. Yes, they have challenges, but what a model for forward thinking and finding funding and things like that. So in some ways, I think other municipalities can be helped by his example and what the council is doing up there. And it's not the MLA's job to come and interfere in municipal affairs by any means, but there is such positivity there. We need to solve the transportation issue. And as I've said before in my other series, transportation is never a profitable endeavor, right? It requires the money from the province. It requires an investment. That you're investing in the people who take the transit, not the transit itself. The other thing I want to do when it comes to schools is talk to all the principals immediately. I spent a couple hours with the principal last week talking about the challenges in her school and the removal of the EAs and BIMs getting cut back. And so I do want to understand on the provincial level. I like to talk to Mr. O'Brien. Again, I'm publicly saying this. I'll have to contact him directly. He's the superintendent. I want to find out what the challenges are of each of the schools in our riding. Look for trends and say, how can we address this as a province and improve things for everyone? And of course, Campobello Ferry, first thing I will do is talk to Mayor Matthews, who is, fairly ambiguous about about his thoughts on me. But if I'm elected, I will work with the mayors. I will find the working group that existed before for the ferry, and I will contact Mr. David Kuhn, the leader, who had drafted and worked with that working group on a ferry. Again, imagine that. This is not his riding, but he was helping them out because He believes in this riding so much, lived in Wildway, loves this area. And so those are phone calls I will make immediately about moving the ferry along. We are going to get that done. All right, way too long. I got to get to St. Andrews, but I wanted to give you a sense. It's easy to say, oh yeah, he's running on 5 things. He's making promises. That's what I'm going to do in my first 10 days. Those are calls I'm going to make. Those are breadcrumb trails that I'm going to follow. And I'm committing to coming back on 10 days in. So I'm saying that's the 10-day plan. I've circled, I believe it's the 30th of October on the calendar, coming back on live and sharing with you what I did in the first 10 days, who I managed to contact, how things are moving along, because I will commit to being accountable to you. And I do think, just as I think about it, every 10 days or so, checking in with you, making a video like this. Obviously, I've gone live for 131 straight days here, but as MLA in the role, I want to continue to come on here and say, here's what I've done, here's the conversations I've talked to when it comes to each of these 5 things and other things that pop up as well. All right, I got to head to St. Andrews. Friends, this is in your hands now. I will come on tomorrow, tell you how to vote and remind you that why you should vote. But in terms of the content of the last 4 months or so, this essentially brings that to a close. I've really wanted to help you, bring you into my process of learning and the kind of person of action that I plan to be, including the plan, my first 10 days. Make sure you get to the polls. Make sure you be informed about who will be the best candidate for our riding. Obviously, I believe that that's me, but do make the decision that is best for you and best for our common good. I want to thank you for your courage to participate in our common good and cast your vote in a way that will accomplish that. Thank you, everyone. See you in St. Andrews. I will be knocking on doors after the demonstration today as well. So maybe I'll see you at your door, but I will see you again